Imagine a world with no money at all. Picture yourself in an ancient marketplace thousands of years ago. There are no coins jingling and no paper bills to hand over. Instead, you might see a farmer bartering a basket of grain for a new pair of sandals from a cobbler. This direct exchange of goods and services, known as barter, was how trade happened before money was invented. It worked, but it was slow and complicated. If you had an extra goat and needed vegetables, you had to find someone who wanted a goat and had vegetables to offer in return. Not always an easy task. Over time, people found easier ways to trade. They started using common items as a stand-in for value. In different places, many things served as early money. In farming communities, cattle or grain might be used as payment. On seacoasts, cowrie shells, small shiny seashells, became a popular currency. In fact, cowrie shells turned out to be one of the longest used currencies in history, prized across Asia and Africa for centuries. People also used things like salt, animal skins, or beads, items that everyone agreed had value. These were all forms of commodity money, things that had value in themselves and could be exchanged for other goods. Having a common form of currency like this made trade much smoother and faster because you didn't need a perfect barter match anymore. The next big leap came with metal coins. Metals were durable and easier to carry than sacks of grain, so people began fashioning them into convenient tokens of value. The first true coins, as we know them, appeared around the 7th century BCE. The Kingdom of Lydia, in what is now Turkey, is often credited with minting the earliest coins. Around 600 BCE, Lydia's king Aliats issued coins called staters made from electrum, a natural gold-silver alloy, and stamped with a roaring lion emblem. For the first time, people held pieces of metal with a guaranteed weight and purity, certified by an authority. This was revolutionary. No more guessing if a nugget of metal or a sack of grain was really worth what someone claimed. A coin had a clear, standard value. The impact on daily life was huge. Lydia's currency helped make it one of the richest societies of its time. Merchants could trade confidently, knowing the little stamped disc in their hand would be accepted by anyone. The idea caught on quickly. Soon, Greek, Persian, and Roman rulers were minting their own coins, often with emperors' faces or divine symbols to prove they were genuine. Coins made trade much easier across distances. A traveler could carry a pouch of coins and buy things far from home without lugging goods to barter. Because the coins themselves were made of valuable metal, people trusted them. However, as economies grew, even metal coins had limits, especially for very large transactions. Imagine trying to buy a house with bags of heavy coins. If you've ever carried a pocket full of coins, you know they get heavy. Now imagine trying to fund a caravan or an army with nothing but gold and silver coins. You'd need wagon loads of treasure. Paper money was the clever solution to this problem. The idea first took off in China, where by the Tang and Song dynasties people were using paper notes as currency. At first, these notes were like IOUs, receipts given by merchants or banks when someone deposited their heavy coins. But soon, people realized these paper slips could be traded just like the coins themselves. The first true paper banknotes appeared in China around the early 9th century CE. It was a surprising idea in a world used to hard metal money, and it required trust that a piece of paper could later be exchanged for real goods or precious metal. The Chinese government backed these notes as official money to build that trust. And it worked. By the time the Venetian traveler Marco Polo visited China in the 1270s, he marveled that people happily accepted paper bills issued by the Great Khan as payment. Paper money was so much easier to carry for large purchases. However, there was a downside. Sometimes the government printed too many notes, which made each note worth less, a problem known as inflation. In fact, by the 1450s, after inflation got out of control, the Chinese authorities had to stop using paper money for a long time. Paper money eventually spread west, but slowly. Europe relied on metal coins far longer. The first European banknotes didn't appear until 1661, when Sweden's central bank issued paper money to the public. Instead of hauling around chests of coins, people could deposit their gold or silver in a bank and carry paper notes that represented that treasure. These notes could be traded for goods or redeemed at the bank for gold or silver on demand. This was the birth of modern banking, and it showed that money didn't have to be something you can hold in your hand to work. For a long period, those paper notes were directly tied to precious metal. Many nations adopted a gold standard, meaning each paper bill could be exchanged for a fixed amount of gold in the vaults. This system provided stability, but it also limited how much money could circulate. In tough times like the Great Depression of the 1930s, governments found the gold standard too rigid. Countries abandoned gold backing so they could print money to fight the economic crisis. Finally, in 1971, the United States ended the dollar's convertibility to gold entirely. Since then, most of the world's currencies have been fiat money, money that isn't backed by any commodity, only by trust in the government. A dollar or euro is basically just paper, or even just a number on a screen, but we all agree it has value. By the late 20th century, money had completed its evolution, from tangible barter goods to an abstract unit of exchange guaranteed by governments and public confidence. The story of money doesn't stop at paper. In the late 20th century, money began to go digital. First came credit cards and electronic transfers, which let people spend money without holding cash in hand. With a piece of plastic, you could make purchases even with no cash on you. Your bank paid the seller, and you paid the bank back later. By the early 21st century, the majority of money existed as digital records rather than as piles of coins and notes. People increasingly used electronic payment methods, from debit cards to online banking, to buy things. Today, you might tap your phone at a store or click Send to pay someone, and the money moves through computer networks. No coins or paper change hands at all. In fact, many transactions now happen with no physical currency involved. The latest twist in the story of money came in 2009 with the birth of cryptocurrency. That year, a new digital currency called Bitcoin was introduced. Bitcoin isn't a coin you can hold in your palm. It exists only online. And unlike traditional money, it isn't issued by any government or bank. Instead, Bitcoin is managed by a decentralized network of users who verify transactions using cryptography. Bitcoin proved that money could be entirely digital and run by its users. Since its launch, thousands of other cryptocurrencies have appeared, all based on the idea that money can be just a shared digital record. These new forms of money raise a fascinating question. If everyone believes a piece of computer code has value, can it serve as money? For a growing number of people, the answer is yes, though cryptocurrencies are still evolving and finding their place in the world. From trading goods in ancient times to paying with smartphones today, money has continually transformed to meet people's needs. Each innovation, whether shells, coins, paper, or digital bits, solved problems of the previous system and made trade easier. Yet despite all these changes, the essence of money remains the same. It's a shared belief. Money is worth something because we all agree it is, whether it's a gold bar, a piece of paper, or a line of code. As you hold a dollar bill or check your bank balance online, remember that it all started with simple barter trades and the quest for a trusted exchange. We've come a long way from cowrie shells and cattle. What do you think money will look like in the future? Will we still jingle coins and crinkle cash? Or will we be using something entirely new?